Mary Ann Cotton was born in 1832 in the north of England, into a life already shaped by hardship. Her father was a miner, and when she was still a child he was killed in an accident underground. His death left the family struggling, and Mary Ann grew up understanding, very early, how fragile security could be, and how quickly death could change everything. She was intelligent, neat, and capable, and as a young woman she trained as a nurse and worked as a domestic servant. These were respectable roles for a working-class Victorian woman, but they offered little stability. Illness was everywhere in Victorian England. Children died often, adults frequently, and few people questioned it. Death was familiar, almost ordinary. At 20, Mary Ann married her first husband, William Mowbray. Records are not clear of how many children they had, exactly, but they were thought to have at least 4 or possibly 8 or 9. One child after another fell sick and died, which only left 3 surviving children. The children's deaths were credited to gastric fever. In that era, no one found this suspicious due to the fact that death was common for young people. But then William himself became ill. He suffered, weakened, and died in 1865. Eventually, after more deaths of their children and of her husband William, they only had one surviving daughter named Isabella Jane. Mary Ann collected the life insurance money from her deceased children and her husband and moved on. She remarried her second husband named George Ward. Her new husband died. She took a lover after him named Joseph Nattrass, and he died. Her own mother became ill after coming to live with her. She too died. Children from her marriages and relationships followed the same path: sudden sickness, vomiting, pain, and death. Again and again, Mary Ann was left standing, calm and practical, arranging funerals and collecting insurance payments. The poison she used was arsenic, cheap, easy to obtain, and nearly impossible to detect at the time. Its effects mimicked the symptoms of common Victorian illnesses, allowing her crimes to blend seamlessly into everyday tragedy. With each death that went unquestioned, her confidence grew. She insured victims shortly before they fell ill. She spoke of money and relief with disturbing frankness. Those around her noticed the misfortune that followed her, but suspicion rarely became accusation. Her downfall came in 1872, with the death of her young stepson, Charles Edward Cotton. Before he died, Mary Ann reportedly remarked that he would never trouble her again. This time, someone listened. A local official refused to sign the burial certificate and demanded an investigation. When the boy's body was examined, arsenic was found. Mary Ann was arrested and brought to trial in 1873. The court focused on the murder of Charles Edward Cotton, though the shadow of many other deaths loomed over the proceedings. She showed little emotion as the evidence was laid out. The jury found her guilty, and she was sentenced to death. On the 24th of March, 1873, Mary Ann Cotton was hanged at Durham Prison. Witnesses noted her composure to the end. The execution itself was poorly carried out, causing a slow death, an unsettling final echo of the suffering she had inflicted on others. She left behind no confession, no expression of remorse. What remains is the story of a woman who learned how easily death could be disguised, how little society questioned repeated tragedy, and how profitable grief could be when no one was watching closely enough. Amelia Dyer was born in 1837 in Victorian England, a time when poverty, illness, and desperation shaped daily life. As a young woman, she trained as a nurse and midwife, learning how to care for the sick, but also how fragile life could be. After marrying and having a child, her life unraveled. Her husband died, she struggled financially, and she suffered periods of mental instability. It was then that Amelia entered a grim trade known as baby farming. Desperate, unmarried mothers paid women like her to take their infants and raise them, or quietly arrange adoptions. But Amelia Dyer never intended to care for the children. Instead, she murdered them. She strangled infants with tape or cloth and disposed of their bodies, often dumping them in rivers or burying them secretly. She continued advertising her services, taking in child after child, collecting payment, and killing them soon after arrival. For years, she escaped suspicion. Infant deaths were tragically common, and the poor had little protection. Authorities rarely questioned women like Amelia, who appeared respectable and maternal. Her crimes finally came to light in 1896, when the bodies of several babies were pulled from the River Thames, each wrapped carefully, each marked with the same method of killing. Investigators traced the evidence back to Amelia Dyer. At her trial, the scale of her crimes shocked the nation. Though she was convicted of only one murder, historians believe she may have killed hundreds of children, making her one of the most prolific serial killers in history. At the turn of the 20th century, on a quiet farm outside La Porte, Belle Gunness appeared to be the picture of respectability. She was tall, strong, soft-spoken, and known in the community as a hard-working widow raising children on her own. But behind the farmhouse walls, something far darker was unfolding. Born in Norway, Belle immigrated to America chasing opportunity. Instead, she discovered something more profitable: people. After a series of suspicious deaths involving her husbands, each conveniently insured, Belle learned she could turn relationships into money. Fires, sudden illnesses, accidents, death always followed, and Belle always collected. Soon, she began placing personal ads in newspapers, seeking wealthy suitors willing to relocate to her farm. Men arrived with savings in hand, expecting marriage and a new life. One by one, they vanished. Belle explained their disappearances calmly: they'd gone back east, changed their minds, or moved on. No one questioned her, at first. In reality, investigators would later believe Belle murdered her victims, dismembered their bodies, and buried them in shallow graves around her property. When suspicions finally began to close in, the farmhouse mysteriously burned to the ground. Inside were several bodies, but not one that could be definitively identified as Belle. Whether she died in the fire or staged her escape remains a mystery. What is certain is that beneath her farm lay the remains of many victims, and Belle Gunness went down in history as one of America's most chilling serial killers, earning the nickname the Black Widow. Thank you for watching History Central. Please like, subscribe, and leave comments down below.